It's 25 degrees now here at the Big 550 KTRS. And report out about meth labs in Missouri. Missouri now, again, at the top of the nation's meth lab states list. Sergeant Jason Grellner is from the Franklin County Sheriff's Office. We've invited him to join us and talk about this morning. Hi, Sergeant. How are you?
I'm great. How are you this morning?
Well, I'm a little bit surprised at this number here. 1,825 meth labs counted last year in the state. Is that better than before, even though we're number one again? Or are we at least decreasing the number of meth labs?
We are, but the only reason that we're decreasing our meth labs is because over 70 communities in the state of Missouri now require a prescription for pseudoephedrine. In the southeast portion of the state, from the Boot Heel all the way to the borders of Jefferson County, we've seen a 56% drop in meth labs, as almost every one of those communities has now required a prescription for pseudoephedrine. What you've seen is steep increases in St. Louis County and St. Louis City, as St. Louis County set a new record for meth labs last year.
Now, I know there's something called Smurfing, which is when people go from one store to another. They'll go to a Walgreens, they'll go to a private pharmacy, they'll go to, wherever they can, and they'll buy up all these different boxes off the counter. Is that as big a problem as I've heard it is?
It's actually bigger. The electronic database won't allow people to buy more than one box in a day. It'll allow them to buy up to 4 boxes in a month. But the real problem is that we have individuals now standing on parking lots of pharmacies throughout the St. Louis area, shoulder tapping individuals, asking them to go inside and buy them a box of cold tablets containing pseudoephedrine.
Wow.
This is almost in the same way that you'll see a 19 or a 20-year-old sometimes sitting on the parking lot of a liquor store or gas station paying individuals to buy them beer. In this instance, the individuals will usually say that they have a sick child in the car or that they're over their limit and they have other sick family members, playing on the compassion of the individual that they're talking with. They'll pay that individual an extra $10 for the box, and they'll turn around and sell that box to a pill broker, sometimes in organized crime or a gang in St. Louis, for $35. And then that pill broker will turn around and sell it to meth lab operators in St. Louis, Franklin, Jefferson, and St. Charles County for as much as $65 to $105 a box.
Wow. That's a pretty profitable business right there.
Well, and the problem is that profit isn't going directly back into pseudoephedrine. That profit's going into heroin. A lot of these gang members are involved in the heroin trade. They'll take the profits from their pseudoephedrine and be able to invest that and purchase more heroin to distribute on the streets of metropolitan St. Louis area.
Are they able to get pseudoephedrine out of liquid decongestants, or is it just out of pills and gel caps?
Actually, they can get it out of liquids just as easy. The problem with the liquids is there isn't as much pseudoephedrine in the entire bottle of liquid. It's a very small portion when you look at the dextromethorphan and other products that are in the elixirs. But, we do have a bright spot, and what I don't understand is communities and our state government and even our federal government at the current time. We have a company here in St. Louis that has manufactured a product, Zephyr XD, that cannot be manufactured into methamphetamine. It is pseudoephedrine. It does work. It's been proven efficacious, and we continue to be fought tooth and nail by the industry that produces the other products because they don't want to lose $1 billion a year in sales.
Are most of the people who are doing this, are they individuals who are taking a Breaking Bad trailer and cooking this up themselves, or is it much more sophisticated?
No, it's very easy. Most of these people can't count their fingers twice and come up with the same number. But because this recipe is so easy to follow, and because the addiction to methamphetamine is so horrible, they'll manufacture methamphetamine not just in a trailer out in the woods, but actually in their vehicle traveling 70 miles an hour down the interstate.
Wow. So they're just cooking for themselves?
Most of them manufacture enough methamphetamine to treat their addiction, to treat the addiction of their friends and family, with just enough left over to sell to go out and purchase the products that they need to begin the next batch. And many of these individuals will cook, if not daily, multiple times per day. But with these new pill Smurfs in the St. Louis area, we're actually seeing much larger labs come back on the scene as individuals are getting their hands on 70 or so boxes a night. And we're seeing of anhydrous going up again, and individuals back to making multiple ounces of methamphetamine that they're able to sell. And the problem is that invites numerous individuals into the drug trade, and the availability of that much methamphetamine makes more addicts.
Obviously, the addiction is dangerous for the people who are doing it, and the cooking by incompetent people is dangerous to the people who are doing that. How is this affecting the rest of us?
Well, as you've already seen, you've got many communities around the St. Louis County area that are enacting legislation requiring the remediation of properties that have been used to manufacture methamphetamine, and I applaud those efforts. That's a very costly endeavor. The cleanup of a standard 1,600 square foot ranch-style home can be as much as $30,000 to $50,000, and that's not covered by insurance. On top of that, you have the dangers to the individuals inside the home who may not be manufacturing, such as the children or the elderly. You have dangers to people who may be staying in the apartment building and other apartments or in the hotel rooms. And then you have, once again, you have danger to the motoring public as you have individuals who are manufacturing at 70 miles an hour on Interstate 70 and 270 and I-44 and I-55 throughout the St. Louis metropolitan area. Just last fall, we saw an individual who was manufacturing inside a Walmart and 10 days later caught manufacturing on the parking lot of a gas station. Either of those two instances could have been catastrophic.
I know you and other law enforcement officials would like to have pseudoephedrine go prescription only statewide. Would that kill meth production in the state, or would we find suddenly that a lot of meth heads are getting prescriptions from unscrupulous doctors?
No, you won't. There's not that many unscrupulous doctors. I mean, 99% of the doctors out there are good, caring individuals who are looking out for the best interest of their patients. Not to mention the fact it's easy to shoulder tap someone as they're walking into a Walgreens, but imagine trying to get someone to go into a doctor's office and fake a runny nose. It's just not going to happen. It hasn't happened in Arkansas. It hasn't happened in Mississippi. It hasn't happened in Oregon. And all of those states require prescription. And what all of those states have seen is a 75 to 95% drop in meth labs in their states. We know this works, but what this does, once again, is it takes $1 billion away from the industry that has been profiting from this disease for over a decade and a half now.
Interesting that Missouri had a drop from 2,075 labs in 2011 to 1,800 and something labs last year, but even though we dropped, the other states dropped so much that we moved ahead of them into the #1 spot on the meth labs list.
Well, and again, our drop in Missouri is due because we have seen such a huge drop in southeast Missouri.
Right.
That drop, if that drop had not been there, if that 56% was back on the books, we would be well above 2,000, probably 2,100 meth labs again. So the drop in labs in Missouri is due to that. Tennessee's meth labs went down slightly because of cleanup issues, and they've seen a drop due to some legislation in Kentucky, but they're also seeing an increase now as people are learning to get around that law and doing the Smurfing like we're seeing in the St. Louis area. So you're seeing Tennessee this year is pressing for prescription-only status. The GAO, the Government Accountability Office, just came out with a study of the entire United States saying that electronic monitoring does nothing to inhibit meth labs, and that the greatest drops in meth labs are seen in areas that have gone prescription only. You've seen the comptroller's report come out of Tennessee saying exactly the same thing. Tennessee's been dealing with the electronic tracking system since about 2008, and they have seen no decrease in meth labs there. So it's obvious what the solution to this problem is. It's just very hard to get there because of lobbying.
All right, one last question I've got to ask you. With all these various states putting all these laws into effect, what about people buying this stuff online? I mean, couldn't somebody just go to Amazon or drugstore.com or something like that and order all the pills that they want with pseudoephedrine in them?
No, because it's monitored by the DEA. Those come directly from distributors. Those distributors are monitored by the DEA. Because of the Combat Methamphetamine Act that went into place in 2006, that cannot be done in the United States. And even attempting to bring it in from overseas, which most of the pseudoephedrine is manufactured in China and India, that's just bulk pseudoephedrine. It's not in pill tablet form. The tablets are made here in the United States by about 5 or 6 different pharmaceutical companies, and we're not seeing internet sales.
Sergeant Jason Grellner of the Franklin County Sheriff's Office. Thanks for your time this morning. I appreciate it.
Thanks for looking into the issue for us. Have a great morning.
My pleasure. I do have to be honest with you. Talking to the sergeant about this, which continues to be a problem, makes me want to see Breaking Bad. I'm waiting for season 5 to come out on DVD. 7:32 at the Big 550 KTRS.